merchant app. You have to have a driver app. You need to have an agent app, right? I mean, for your agents on the field. So if you work in retail or agency banking or fintech, you need to understand how these things work, right? So that was how in my head I was like, okay, Judith possesses a lot of experience in investments. So I mean, she'll be a good fit for this, right? So I reached out to her, and I mean, choosing the topic was no small feat. Shout out to Judith. Like, I give you a big kudos. Like, I remember fighting with you about the topic, right? Before you came up with what what was in my head, like what I thought would be good for the community at large to enjoy and to learn from. You
I'm
know.
really honored
Oh,
and privileged to
can I
be
say
here.
something? Can I say something? Can I say
Go
something? Oh, Jesus Christ! My heart is just, as I saw the face, my heart just
What are you talking about?
something new.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
continue. Yeah.
Okay, thank you all for having me this morning. So let me introduce myself. I am a product manager, and I started my experience started in Zenith. I was in retail banking, and I worked there for about 6 to 7 years. Then I headed to do my master's in England. Then it was in England I actually developed interest in digital technology and fintech. So I went for some trainings there, and I worked in a fintech agency in UK where I was able to gain some experience. Then I proceeded to work in First Bank Innovation Lab as a product manager. I also worked the capacity of a business analyst and a product owner whilst I was there. Um, I was part of the team that actually started up the Digital Innovation Lab in First Bank. So we are responsible for designing the digital strategy and coming up with new innovation whilst I was there. Then I left there to FSDH, where I'm working as a product manager in the investment banking arm of the organization. So that's me in a nutshell. Can you hear me?
Yes, you could proceed. You could
Yes, we can
proceed.
hear you, Judith.
Okay, that's
Welcome.
me in a nutshell. I think my experience actually cuts across financial technology, fintech. So I'm all about fintech, solving issues with solving financial problems with technology. So I'm all about fintech because I work across different banks and organizations, and trying to understand customers' pain points and developing touch points across their user journeys. So that's me in a nutshell. So thank you for having me. I'm so honored to be part of the Eko Innovation Product School. It's a great privilege. So thank you all, and thanks for coming. So my topic today will be about building a sustainable ecosystem for an investment product. Let me minimize this. So yeah, so this is just the agenda that we're going to discuss. It's nothing too much, so don't fret. Just hit it off. So we'll talk about the importance of a product ecosystem, some examples, and an investment product ecosystem, and some actors. This is just a summary of what we're going to talk about. So what's an ecosystem? There are different definitions of an ecosystem. It just depends on the context in which it applies. So for an innovation ecosystem, it's a term used to describe various players and stakeholders and committee members that are critical for innovation. Why for a business, it is actually interconnecting and interacting parts in creating value for that business. So a product ecosystem, that is what is really applicable for what we are going to discuss today, is when a business offers multiple complementary products or services for their customers to purchase and use together. So that is the definition that we're going to apply to the presentation today. So a great ecosystem, a great product has its own ecosystem. And in this ecosystem, the product actually self-actualizes and thrives. And in order for it to thrive, it needs ecological features. Ecological features are features that can coexist together in order to deliver value or meet a particular goal of a customer. So ecological features can be in form of images, they can be in form of text, they can be in form of reviews, they can be in form of um, referrals, so, and so on. So in order for you to constantly you need to constantly nourish your system, your ecosystem with these ecological features, because you need your ecosystem to continue to be engaged. You need your users to be continually engaged. You need to be to solve your users' needs, and you don't want your users to abandon your ecosystem to competition. So you need to constantly update your ecosystem with these ecological features. So ecological features are features that actually coexist together. So they are complementary to one another. They work hand in hand. I'll give you an example of an ecological feature. An ecological feature, Apple is an example of a great product ecosystem. Everybody uses Apple because Apple products, yes, they work independently, but collectively, it's a force. Apple is a force to reckon with. You can pair an Apple device, an Apple Watch with the phone. You can pair the phone with the AirPods and so on. So that's an example of ecological features. Just be able to provide new updates in providing new value for your customers. So the importance of a product ecosystem is you need to understand the importance of having a product ecosystem, and that cannot be overemphasized. It helps you solve your user needs. It helps you improve your brand loyalty and advocacy. Once your customers are able to see value from your product ecosystem, they'll be great advocates. Word of mouth is the most efficient and effective way of actually advertising your products. With word of mouth, I think word of mouth has been seen to be more efficient and effective than even social media and print media advertising. That way, you're able to attract new users. Then it also helps you improve your chances of becoming an impactful player. If you're able to offer a range of services to your product ecosystem, you will be known to be an impactful player, therefore increasing your brand image. For example, I will use Apple as an example again. Apple is a very strong brand. The brand equity is running to billions as we speak. Then you also want to be able to solve a wide array of challenges within the system that your customers are already part of, which is very important. You have to always constantly update your system to solve user challenges. Then how to build a product ecosystem. Products can be in form of um, products and services, that is tangible or intangible. In the environment where I work in, is intangible. Services are intangible, but they're also products. But companies like Apple, they are tangible. They're tangible because you can actually hold them. So it doesn't mean if I mean, a product doesn't mean it has to be tangible. It can either be intangible or tangible. So in my own area where I work in is intangible because I provide service for my customers, but the same application across the board. So how do you build a product ecosystem? You have to listen to your customers. You have to understand your customers' needs and their pain points. You have to be able to ask them questions. You have to be able to know their inherent needs. You have to be proactive. You don't want the situation whereby your customers are already dissatisfied. You want to be proactive to be able to determine how to meet their users' needs. In doing that, you can also try to get feedback in like three different ways. You can get it through sending survey questionnaires to your end users, or conducting focus groups, or creating buyer personas. That way, you're able to understand your users' aspirations, their pain points, their motivations. You also understand the target audience. You're able to understand your users better. And when you're able to understand your users better, you're able to design products that actually suit the needs of these users. Then you have to constantly update, as I had discussed earlier. You need to continue to introduce new features in your product ecosystem, because you need to keep your users engaged and they have to able to see value. Once they are not able to, when they are not able to see value, they'll abandon your product ecosystem to a more fulfilling product ecosystem. Then you have to be able to simplify connection. What I mean by that is that when you have a new product, when you're trying to introduce a new product to your ecosystem, if you want your two products to coexist, they should be able to, you're supposed to able to improve your user experience. You don't want a situation whereby when you introduce a new product into your ecosystem, it becomes problematic and your users abandon that product and go to the next best thing. So you want it to be simple enough for you to be for your users to be able to you know go move seamlessly from one product to another. Then you need to make your ecosystem valuable for your customers, in the sense that at every point in time, once you're able to address your needs, your customer should be able to see value. You don't want to create products that are redundant. You want products that will be able to speak to their needs and speak to their needs and also address their challenges. So you want it to be very valuable at every given time. So that brings us to a an image of a product ecosystem. So this your product can be anything. If you notice, these products can work independently, but collectively they work as a force. It's a force. So everything is interconnected. You can see Alexa there. You can see tablets. You have tablets, but you can work. You can use your tablet on its own. But if you use it with Alexa, and if you use it with a web service or a PC, it works better. It even provides more value. It's like Apple, where you buy, you can access your data across several devices once you're able to pair them. So this is just a snapshot of how an ecosystem looks like. But this is a product, this is a physical product. Then I'll give you an example of a thriving ecosystem. For example, let's go local. Paystack. Paystack is a very thriving ecosystem. You notice that Paystack was acquired lately by Stife. Am I correct? Correct me if I'm wrong. Stripe. Yes, Stripe. So yeah, so Paystack is doing so well because they're able to always create new updates at every given time, and those updates are, always they bring value for our customers. Why they are very successful? Because they have a self-service of merchant onboarding. They have developer APIs. They have 24/7 support system. They have tutorials. They have reports. You can do your reports easily at a blink of an eye. Even they're very good. Their product is so good because I have had the privilege of actually working with their products. And their product is so good because it's very easy for us in the financial industry. It's very good for reconciliation. The reconciliation mechanism is, next to none. So they're always bringing new updates at every given time. Then I'll just talk about, Apple Store. Apple was the first company to come up with the Apple Store before I think Google Play Store copied them. Through an Apple Store, you can buy different and pay for different apps. Through an Apple Store, you're able to access different features. Then, of course, their iOS application. I think that is only unique to Apple. So creating those additions and creating those nice to have actually help improve that the look and feel of that ecosystem. You have the Uber, you have the Amazon, of course, they have the Kindle, they have the affiliate program means that you can sell Amazon's products through a third party. So the ecosystem will begin to flourish. By the time they add all these new features here and there, it makes your ecosystem flourish, because you need to add nutrients to your ecosystem in order for it to flourish and grow and thrive. So that brings us to an investment a product ecosystem. So that was just an introduction of what a product ecosystem is all about. Or I'm going to be talking about an investment product ecosystem. So that's just like, a ground level understanding so that we can have a good knowledge of what we're here for. So an investment ecosystem, if you look at the picture on the screen, you will see three key players, or three key groups of players rather. You will see the savers, as investors, right? So investors save through asset managers or firms or intermediaries. And in order for you to be able to save and have to save well and save effectively and save efficiently, you need the government and regulators to do that. Because without, our investment industry in Nigeria is highly regulated and it's dependent on so many other factors, which I will discuss later on in my slide. So that will determine the wealth and well-being. The investment that goes into the economy depending on the wealth and well-being in society, and so dependent on the macroeconomic activities and the landscape of the country. And the micro and economic activities will also will give you the license to operate, because our industry is highly regulated. It's not like banks or fintechs as such. We're highly regulated because it's dependent on so many factors. So because you need trust, you can see trust is actually linking there. But when investors lose trust in your product or in the investment chain, value chain, I mean, that's the end. Investors will abandon you and go to the next best thing. So that gives you license to operate. So the asset managers take on that information and invest on behalf of the customers, and the customers receive income or yield or return on investment. So that's how it works. That's what this picture depicts. So there are different players of an ecosystem, which I've talked about earlier, but I'll just highlight on them. You have the individual investors. That's one. You have the asset owners. Asset owners are like Stanbic IBTC, FSDH, GT Assure, and Investment One. Those are like asset owners. Then investment asset managers are actually employees of those firms. Then intermediaries are like investment traders. We have a trading stock exchange and all that. Those are all intermediaries. Then we also have the custodian banks. The banks that act as an intermediary between an investment company and users. Then we have the regulators, which is very critical for a successful investment venture, central bank, and that. So these are their functions and these are their responsibilities. So what makes an investment product thrive? What is an investment product? As I said, is very similar to a physical product, but it's a service. But the only difference is that, as I said, is highly regulated and is dependent on microeconomic and macroeconomic factors. So what will make your investment product thrive? You have to continue to design new offerings. As I said earlier, you need to be able to nourish your ecosystem with new updates at every given time. Your customers need to see value. They need to see that you have them at their heart, they are at the heart of your decision making. So that is that. The regulators buy-in. Regulators buy-in is very critical. In Nigeria, we are regulated by Securities Exchange Commission. Buying is very critical for an investment ecosystem. I'll give you an example. When I first joined my company, they were building a very fantastic product, and it's actually supposed to aid payment from a third-party bank to an investment or an asset management bank or firm. So the only thing is that asset management is not regulated by CBN. We are regulated by SEC. So we are not we don't leverage the NIP platform. We leverage custodian banks. So the issue is that when investors invest money, they usually get value within 48 hours. And customers were not happy because they need to see, every customer wants to see immediate value. They want immediate value, they want their returns on investment almost immediately. So we are looking for a reason to reduce the turnaround time to maybe 10 hours or less. And of course, we want to be competitive because we have competition, the competitors in the market. So we designed a product. We designed a product whereby when customers pay in via a third party, okay, what we did was that we have a merchant bank. So that merchant bank is regulated by Central Bank, and they are on NIPS, the NIP platform. So we mapped our core solution, let me call it core banking solution, to the merchant bank account. So what means that when customers pay in via the merchant bank account, we receive value. So it's like a wallet integration. So it means that when customers pay money into the merchant bank, we receive value that we can invest on the customer's behalf. But we realized that it was flouting regulatory requirements. The regulation states that because I say it's highly regulated, regulation states that for you to invest money on behalf of a customer, it must pass through a custodian bank. A custodian bank may be GT, First Bank, Zenith. It must pass through an intermediary before it gets to us. They don't want it to start and end within our confinement. That's regulation. Maybe it's to prevent fraud or something. So we were able to boycott the intermediary bank. But you can see it's flouted regulation. I don't know why. I don't know if the regulation had come up before designing the product, but I know a lot of energy was put into designing that product. It was a very fantastic product because we were able to reduce the turnaround from 48 hours to about 10 hours. But at the end of the day, we had to decommission that service immediately. And you know what that means? People were heartbroken. A lot of effort and time and resources have been put into building that product. So that was just a waste of man hours, time, and effort. People were demoralized. So now you can see the importance of having regulators buy in at every point in time. So the government actually regulates. So there are micro and macroeconomic factors that affect investment in Nigeria. Microeconomic factors are like the prices companies put on their goods and services. If an individual wants to work full hours or not at all, what again? I think that's what I can remember now. But macroeconomic factors are like the level of economic activity in the country, the level of unemployment, the standard of living, those factors, and also how much goods and services can be produced over a period of time. So the government, through the central banks, actually monitors the level of liquidity in the economy through the micro and economic indices. So what they do is that when there's excess liquidity in the markets, they use the fiscal and monetary policy to manage it. So the fiscal policy uses tax returns to manage liquidity. So what happens is that because if there's so much liquidity in the market, because the government will increase tax return, that's able to mop up funds into the back into the out of the economy, I mean. Then monetary policy means that the government will sell money, adjust the interest rates. We sell treasury bill instruments and bonds at a given rate, so that people will be able to invest in those government funds. And those funds are risk-free, 100% risk-free, because a government can't default. If at all they want to default, they will print money to offset their debts. So that's how it works. So right now, what's happening now in the economy is that I'm sure you know that the exchange rate as well is one of the ways where government manages liquidity in the economy. So right now, what's happening is that, our economy is actually in recession. So what means that we get most of our money, our foreign exchange, from the sale of crude oil to neighboring countries. So with the introduction of COVID-19 virus, that actually affected the price of crude oil. So that means that limited the amount of um, um, foreign exchange that the government could, generate. So that means that government has less foreign exchange, and people, and the forces of demand and supply. People are now willing to pay more for
Hello, Judy.
less. Hello?
Yeah, can you your chat?
Sorry? Okay, I
Your
hope
chat.
I'm not. Am I exceeding my time?
You're almost exceeding your time. 10 more minutes.
Okay, let me rush it. Okay, let me just rush it. No problem. So yeah. So right now, what's happening is that people have. So right now, okay, let me just wrap that up. So right now, what's happening is it's so liquid now. Dollar is on the rise. So people are now looking for alternate ways of investment. People are now interested in, now those bonds that were very viable, like treasury bills and bonds. I think the interest rate is next to none. People are now looking for new ways to invest their money because there's excess liquidity in the market. But right now, with the introduction of the new vaccine, stocks seems to be doing, better. So, as a company, you need to be able to monitor and gauge what do you think customers will require at this point in time. So what my company quickly did was that we noticed that the dollar was going up, so we quickly designed a dollar fund account. If you notice, Carry Rise and different companies started designing different products like that, so that people can invest in dollar denominated assets. So whereby they would invest in that asset, and they'll be able to retain the value for their money. It's time value of money because of the inflation rate in the economy. So you need to look at those economic indices and determine the product to design. So right now, a company like mine, we noticed that some of our bonds and treasury bill instruments, our mutual funds, were not appealing to our audience. So we had to partner with another firm. They white labeled their product to us. So we are now able to sell commodities. So in that way, we are now creating products to engage our end users. We are creating products that meet their needs, because right now customers are looking for ways to invest. So we have to always be looking at the microeconomic activities in order to design products that meet end users' needs. So that's how it works. Then technology. The use of technology cannot be overemphasized. Like big data now. Big data is very critical now, because with big data, you can mine, you can get alternative sources of data from different sources and mine that information. It's going to be useful information. You should be able to forecast and tell you about maybe an investment that will do well in future, or an investment that will do well now or not. There are different use cases to big data. Then artificial intelligence, also use cases. You can see the rise of chatbots. Customers want to be continually engaged. They want to understand how to invest their monies. So if you see a chatbot that is telling you, oh, the stocks are doing well today, why don't you invest in you want to invest in stocks? Why don't you invest in cryptocurrency? Why don't you invest in real estate and commodities like that? You want to be constantly engaging your customers. That's another use case for artificial intelligence. Also, you can also use machine learning. Machine learning will help you actually, build algorithms that will able to recommend based on customers' user behavior and user data, user history. So, and their buying patterns as well. So, this will recommend the best stocks, because customers right now need personalized service. So, if you're able to, streamline your offerings in a way that we're able to appeal to your customers individually, is great. So, a product ecosystem or companies have to look for new innovative ways of actually, offering products for their, customers or their end users. Then this is just a graph of showing the importance of collaboration. You can see more users. So it's based on three success metrics, which is financials, innovation, and also users. The more the collaboration, the more ecosystems are will thrive. You can see the graph, lagging, middle, and leading. Then these are some examples of investment products. We have bonds, which is IOU. Government issues out bonds to investors and get money back from investors to actually um, fund capital projects rather. So that's another form of investment. You have foreign exchange, you have commodities. In commodities like gold. Right now, gold is not doing very well in the market, but you have agriculture, which is doing better. Agriculture, you have uranium, you have foreign metals. Stocks is really doing better now in the market with actually the announcement of the COVID vaccine. Then you have cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is good. I think that's a very viable option. I'm sure one of our speakers will talk better more on cryptocurrency. She's more of an expert in that regard. Then
Yes.
then an investment product strategy. So when you're designing your investment product strategy, there are many things you should look at. You think about your product vision. What do you want to achieve in the next 10 years? What do you want to do? How will your product roadmap achieve your product vision? How will your macro and microeconomic factors determine the viability of your product vision? So these are the things that actually, these are the indices that or the metrics that you need to put in place for you to actually design a very cohesive and viable product ecosystem. So this is my last slide. So this is a growth product investment framework. So it's actually inspired by the Maslow hierarchy of needs. Maslow hierarchy of needs is actually a framework that is a motivational theory in psychology that influences human decisions. It actually helps to determine how users will be receptive to your products. So it starts with functional features and it ends with ecological features. So the functional features are actually your MVP. So your MVP has to be able to determine how you're able to address your end users' needs. Your MVP should be able to it's supposed to be your engine of your product. Your MVP is supposed to be able to compete in the market. It's supposed to be able to attract new users. You have to have sometimes you have to have a first mover advantage by actually incorporating new technology and new innovative means to actually have traction in that regard. Then we talk about emotional features. By the time you build your MVP, you want your customers to have a positive feel of your features. But this is very applicable to tangible products and also can also be applicable to intangible products as well, as I had earlier discussed. Then your ecological features are features that grow your ecosystem. These are the nutrients that your system needs at every point in time. You need to actually update your ecosystem with your ecological features. For example, in my own you can add ecological features like an investment calculator, stock prices, stock charts, the latest bond prices, the reviews, referrals, such things like that. That way your customers will constantly engaged. They'll get to have more value or see more value. They know that you have them in mind and you're able to address their needs, and that makes your ecosystem grow and thrive. So this is just a summary of what I discussed. You can see financial literacy, referral system, track my budget and expenses. So these are ecological features. But first of all, you start with your functional and you end with your ecological features. So thank you all for having me. That's the end.
Okay. Okay. I think I have a question. Right. Okay. All right. So thank you everyone. My name is Samuel. I'm an upcoming product manager. I was formerly a project manager and a UX designer. So where I focus mainly is the user experience of product basically. I mean, I just love products that make you happy when you use them. My favorite product is current basically Airtable. God, I love that product. It is so sleek and easy to use, right? So,
So
okay,
you
so
use
my
your
question,
table, right?
yeah, Airtable. I love that product. I mean, it's ingenious.
And,
Okay,
okay, don't
so,
worry, don't worry. Look after the call. I'll hook you up to the guy.
okay, okay, okay.
Have you been able to build any app with it?
Yeah, I'm actually currently, I'm working with it at the moment. Like, I'm working with it at the moment. So I'm still
Seriously, yeah, I
exploring.
found it very difficult. Uh,
Someone said something.
Sorry, please go ahead. Go ahead. I said I
Okay.
found it very difficult to use. Please
Oh,
continue.
really? Okay. Actually, that is where my question is actually going to. Okay, so my question is, how do you get to make the engineering team like understand that you can't, as building a product, you can't fall in love with the product, like with a particular product. Okay, I'm asking this question because I'm currently working in a team of five guys. That engineering team is really amazing. I mean, they technically don't make mistakes. Like they build things that work. So at the end of the day, they tend to fall in love with what they built. So everything I've done so far to make them understand that you fall in love with this particular, product you built might make you not see things from the aspect of the user, right? Because basically, right from onset, while I was a project manager, I like to, I try as much as possible to wear the shoes of the user, and definitely products have different entry points. So, I try to create different, entry scenarios and use case for each product. But as much as I'm trying to, push this narrative to the team that don't let us fall too like in love with this product, so we'll be able to iterate and see things from the point of the users. I've not been able to, really, really crack that. I don't know if the problem is from me or my approach to the team, or something. So I've been having that, bottleneck with the engineering team.
Question someone asks. Someone is saying, if I get Samuel very well, that I mean, he joins an engineering team, but there are no product processes, right? So from your time on at First Bank, FSDH, how have you been able to create structured product processes, right? So yeah, that I think that's what he's trying to say in essence.
Hello?
Yeah,
Yeah,
hello.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, AG did. Yeah, and
Okay.
okay, yeah.
Go on, go on.
Okay, okay, and also it's none of the team members have actually worked had a product design system to work with. I mean, they've been working on products, right? But there's no product design, what do you call it, experience. I mean, they've never had a product design system experience whatsoever before now. So I don't know, how do I navigate,
So do you want
this.
to teach them about product design? Sorry, to understand your question properly.
No, it's not as if I'm teaching about product design. We want, I mean, the product is users are finding it hard to use the product at the moment, right? So I've been trying to make, they don't see the reason why. Basically, they are trying to force users to use the product instead of seeing why the users are not using the product. They are trying to come like they're trying to look for ways to force the users to use the products. I don't know. I mean,
So you're not able to meet users' needs. That's what you're trying to say.
exactly.
So in other words, what you're trying to say is that you guys are building a product from your own place of knowledge. You are not able to meet your end users' needs. So what,
Exactly.
so what will happen is that you need to, first of all, you need to gather requirements. You have to understand your users, what they want, right? So I think the process that you can put in place is building prototypes. So you use those prototypes to test your users' needs and wants. So based on their feedback from their prototype, you're able to refine your prototype, adequately. So what I did in my last place of work, we are building a product for Ghana. So I went to, because I don't live in Ghana, right? We had our own assumption, right? So we just did our own research internally and we went to Ghana to do more research. So we built a prototype based on our own research. but we now had to validate that prototype. So building a product from start to finish is not advisable. You have to now use that prototype to validate your assumptions. So you are going to now use to elicit requirements. So what we do is that we conducted a focus group. So we made each user to go through each user journey, right? And based on their pain points or based on their feedback across this user journey, we're going to adjust and refine accordingly. So I think that's the best measure you can use to actually build a product that speaks to your audience. You need to also get, as I said in my lesson, you also have to you can use your surveys, your feedback surveys to actually, elicit feedback from your end users, because what you feel that is appropriate is not what your users may feel that is appropriate. So you have to understand your user. You have to do interviews. You have to speak to you, engage your users one-on-one, and based on their feedback, that would enable you to design your product. But you also need to constantly refine your product by constantly validating your prototype against user needs. So until you get a perfect product. So it's a continuous iterative product. You don't rest. You don't just build a product and abandon it. You have to constantly build, refine, validate, build, refine, validate until you get a perfect product.
All right, thank you. So the thing is, okay, before you go, I just want to really clarify things. Now, the issue is not just about the issue now is iterating the product. Like now, the team is rather young. I know you've worked in a lot of places before. Can you hear me?
Yeah, you're low, but I'm trying to hear you.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, okay.
Okay, good. So I know you've worked in, a couple of, teams, or you worked with a couple of product team all before, right? Now the thing is, how do you undo a team that they are good, right? I mean, technically they are sound, but they're not really experienced with products. I mean, when you're building products, I mean, in let's say a design system environment that is not rigid, but I mean, doing things the right way. I mean, I think you understand what I'm trying to say,
Yeah,
right?
so what you need to do is that you need to do in-house training. So we used to conduct we call it knowledge sharing session, KSS. So in that way we're able to infuse
Hello?
information. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Go ahead.
Okay, so we used to conduct knowledge sharing session or trainings. That way you're able
Okay.
to infuse information into your team members, and in that way
Okay.
your ideas. We used to have it like once in a week. We come together,
Okay.
we design your process flow together. So you try to impose it on your team members, they would resist. So you collectively as a team will design the best approach to use, but
Okay.
everybody has to do input, for you to design something that works.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
So this is an informal way I've just discussed, but the formal way is training, because we had an agile coach in-house that was able to help us in like streamline our process and put those processes in place. But if your team can afford that, then you guys can collectively design an approach that works for you. So there's an
Okay.
process of doing it.
Oh, okay. So, okay, let's say in a situation
So
where,
exactly as I said, you have to get a focus group within that your target audience you are
all
targeting.
right,
So those
all
people
right,
will interface with your products. You keep on refining and refining your assumptions until you get a perfect product.
all
That's
right, all right. Thank you so much. That's all.
my name is Judy. I'm a speaker today, and a manager. I'm all about fintech.
Okay.